We go. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and of course, this is Bar None 11970. And hopefully, you will be able to catch this live because if you do, you can ask questions, and hopefully, we'll get some more truth out there for the people. Now, I'm going to wait a second just to wait until a couple of people show up. But I basically want to show this is one of those aha moments when I was reading something, and it was another one of those hidden in plain sight scenarios where something that we're used to seeing all the time, when you pay attention to the individual words, you will see that the system does not really work for you the way you think it does. Now, if you watch my videos, you know that I've talked about how this system, I mean, all systems pretty much, but I can only speak about where I live, and that's in the United States Corporation, even though every country is a corporation and they have their own problems with their laws and regulations. But here, I mean, just look at what's going on with the Hillary Clinton email scandal and how they've had to subpoena the FBI to get the information and documents, many of which are unclassified, and they're refusing to do it. And not only are they refusing to do it, they're telling the executive branch not to post any of the information. They don't have the right to do that. But yet, they're getting away with it because we're not paying attention to it. And our freedoms are getting less and less by the day because we're not paying attention enough. As a whole, obviously the people that come here and other channels like this, you guys and gals out there are paying attention, but it's clearly not enough to make a change. So we need to fix that. So the first thing I'm going to ask anybody out there is try and share this information with people out there. Get them to watch things like C-SPAN where they're doing all of the real important stuff. Now, I want to show you something that's been hidden in plain sight that we probably already have memorized, but you don't see it until it's pointed out. So what I'm talking about is your Miranda rights. Now, if you're not familiar with Miranda rights because you may live outside of the United States of America Corporation, basically in a nutshell, when you get arrested, they will give you this certain saying to kind of give you what your rights are when this is happening. So the main part is this, and this is what I want you to pay attention to. And most people pretty much will know this by heart. So if you've ever been arrested or seen a cop show or whatever, you're going to know that police will say things like this. This is the Miranda rights, the beginning of them. We're not going to go into the whole thing. It goes as follows, quote, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Now, there's a lot more to that. I want you to find what is wrong with that saying that we're all told. Well, criminals anyway, or people that have had problems. I'm going to say it again. And this is quote, this is part of your Miranda rights, the beginning of them. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Now, can anybody tell me in that short little sentence where it actually goes to hurt you and we don't even realize it, maybe never even noticed it before? Can anybody who's watching this live right now point out the error of that? And I haven't changed anything. That is exactly what you're told, but there's something in there we've probably all never noticed. Can anybody think about it? I'll give another like 30 seconds or so before I just mention it. And see, that's exactly what I mean. So right now, so far, nobody's come up with it. And again, I'll say it one last time just in case you just tuned in, because we're talking about your Miranda rights. And that only works here in the United States. I'm sure it's different around the world. But I'll say it one more time, and then we're going to go over it. And this is quote, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." So I think one of you, okay, so there you go. People are starting to get it. Notice how I pointed it out 3 times. Now, it says you have the right to remain silent, which means you don't have to incriminate yourself. You don't have to say anything. You have the right to not say anything until basically if you want to speak to an attorney. Now, this is the part that gets you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Now, notice it doesn't say can and will be used for you, or just simply can be used in a court of law. They're saying to you when they read your Miranda rights that if you say anything, it can and will be used against you. Think about that. They specifically put words, and I've mentioned this in several videos where I've talked about legal definitions. I've talked about how they purposely write things in the Constitution. Like I've talked about how they redid the 13th Amendment, because the 13th Amendment we have today is not the same as it once was. They've changed it. And what they did was they legally defined the term slavery, at least here in the United States of America Corporation. And they legalized the definition. So it's a legal definition, not what your teacher would teach you in school or somebody would say, out on the streets. I'm talking about the definition that would be held up in court. They legally define slavery as involuntary servitude. And they specifically said it that way because most people don't pay attention. So they're actually having the 13th Amendment not protect them, because when you volunteer your servitude, then that no longer protects you. But if they don't explain it to you, or they write it in tricky ways, I mean, technically it's our own fault because we don't pay attention, but like they say, ignorance of law is no excuse. So any criminal that's about to be arrested, they are given, well, they're supposed to be given their Miranda rights. And the cop is basically saying to you, if you speak, no matter what you say, it will be used against you. Not it will be used for you, not it may be used in the court, but it's used for the purpose of going against you. So if you see it for the first time in this way and in this light, are the courts really there for you? So it's in the wording. Now, you could look up the Miranda rights yourself, so you could see that I didn't make that up. I didn't change it in any way. This is what we're told. And I remember at first I wanted to go online to verify it just to make sure, because I'm wait, can and will be used against you? But that's exactly what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, the more you research what's going on in government, the more you realize that simply for the fact that we don't pay attention and we don't care, and again, I'm talking about the majority of people, not the people here, not the people that are watching other videos like this. I'm talking about the people who are watching Britney Spears or watching the latest, football or baseball game. The ones that just don't pay attention to this because they think they don't have a say or it doesn't matter. The more silent we are, the more they get away with all the things they're getting away with. And if you watch videos with what is going on and a lot of them are based on C-SPAN too, where they're showing the congressional hearings, and I'm watching more and more of them, and I'm not just watching clips. I just said that the other day because it's just easier than saying, okay, I watched one that was 5 minutes, I saw one that was an hour, another one was 2 hours. I just wanted to generalize it. But this system of law is meant to be so confusing that they have things called legalese, which is legal definitions. And I've talked about that, especially if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. My video that I did, well, there's two videos, but the one that I would highly recommend is the extended version, The Truth of United States Law and You, where they will take words that you and I would take for granted as just regular English language, but in a court, they are used in a different way, like the word person, like the word citizen, and again, like the word slave or slavery. So all of us are slaves if you volunteer to do something. The 13th Amendment in this country does not apply to you. Why do they not teach this? Because if people knew this, and they knew they had more power than they led you to believe you have, you would probably want to do something about it. And the longer we delay, the more unlikely it is that we will make change or be able to. Now, our freedoms haven't gotten to the point where they're silencing us. Now, obviously, views are going to be, the number's going to be fixed. It's going to be harder to see videos like this in others, but they haven't shut it down to the point where we can't speak at all. So my opinion is we should not wait until that happens. Now, I've seen some people trying to do the right thing by saying, oh, we need to sign these petitions. I tried that way back. As a matter of fact, if you've seen my video, The Truth About the United States Law and You, which was, I think, either 2013 or 2014 when I made them, I even had in the description, sign this petition, which barely anybody even signed, so it didn't matter regardless. But even then, I thought, maybe if you go through the system, it'll work. This system is so corrupt that they will put these things, like I've said before, hidden in plain sight. So you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So who benefits with that? You the people, or they the government? Now, if anybody's ever been to court where they needed a lawyer, and I haven't because I'm not a criminal. I think the worst thing I've ever done as far as going to court is for a speeding ticket. And the last one I got of those was probably about 10 years ago. But when was the last time anybody had a lawyer explain that to them? Say, listen, if you say anything, it's going to be used against you. Do you think the system is there to help you, or do you think it's there for them to extract as much money as they can? And remember, ladies and gentlemen, because of the 13th Amendment, if you do these things voluntarily, well, then the 13th Amendment doesn't protect you. You are technically, under the definition, a legal slave. This is the most important thing people need to teach people, is about the 13th Amendment. Because no one in government can force you to do anything. Now, obviously, it doesn't qualify for criminals. I mean, if you commit a murder, you can't just say, oh, they can, take you away and put you in prison. But if you do something that is not that major of a crime, like murdering somebody, they cannot force you to do something. Like, for example, they cannot force you to go to a booth and vote, or who to vote for. They can't put a gun to your head and say, you have to fill out this certificate in this form. But they could trick you into thinking that you have to do things. And then you've waived your constitutional rights. And that's why I always say the word con in Constitution was probably put there purposely, or if not, just a matter of irony. So, Alex M., let me read what he wrote. Coinage Act of 1865 states Federal Reserve notes for all debt, not dollars. Yes, if you could go back to as far as the Coinage Act of 1792, they actually talk about in the Constitution that the only money is gold, silver, and they even mention copper. So they say only those three are actually considered money. Anything else is considered a token punishable by debt. By death, but punishable by debt as well. So how ironic that death and debt are fairly similar. But we don't have silver coins. We don't even have copper coins anymore. They stopped making the copper coins back in, I believe, 1982, mid-1982. It's mostly zinc now. And what's happening is they take the metals that are more expensive, like, for example, gold is going to be more expensive. Silver is not going to be as expensive as compared to gold. And then copper, now zinc. And, in some countries, like, for example, in Canada, they have some of their currency it's in plastic. And then eventually, what are they going to do? Make it out of literal paper? They just make a paper quarter? So it's all in the wording. So something like this, and I've said this before, not telling the truth is the same as lying. And also, if you tell lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And we take for granted things like this, where you see your Miranda rights to the point where probably people know it by memory. And it says right in it that it's going to be used against you. How is that a fair and just court system when they're telling you right off the bat, no matter what you say, it's going to be used against you? Not saying, you have the right to remain silent, but if you say something, it could be used against you, or it could help you. You can say something to prove that you didn't do what you've been accused. The court systems are there to get you to volunteer your servitude. They will threaten you. They will definitely scare you. And depending on the crime, they may throw you in jail, may even have you executed. But the majority of the lower class crimes, like going through a traffic light or something in that range, their job is to extract money from you. And even if you hire a lawyer, let's say, for example, you have whatever crime you committed requires a $10,000 bail or bond or whatever. I'm not too familiar with it because I've never been in jail. I'm not a criminal. And let's say you hire a lawyer and the lawyer reduces the sentence down to, let's say, $500. And you'll say to yourself, all right, great. I just went from 10,000 to 500. My lawyer did a great job. Well, the court system stole $500 from you. And whatever amount you had to pay the lawyer to have that done. And they don't point these things out. Has anyone asked a lawyer why they don't? Is it because they don't know? Is it because they've been instructed not to say anything? Is it just common practice that you're not supposed to disclose things unless people ask about them? It's funny. Gold and Alex M says gold and silver used to be money. Don't say it's money. Well, it just because you change the word doesn't mean it changes what it is, because that's why countries, even in this country, the United States of America Corporation, they still hoard gold. China is buying gold. India is buying gold. I don't think countries, I mean, they're good at wasting money, but I don't think they're buying tons of gold just because they like the shiny yellow color. There's more to it than that. And just because you change dog poop into, you know, a piece of art and say, oh, that's not dog poop, that's a piece of art, it's still going to stink and you still don't want to eat it. So they can change the words. That doesn't change anything. So I don't want to make this a long video. For me, under 20 minutes is a Christmas miracle, so you guys can discuss things amongst yourself, but it seems like it's the Alex M show as far as the only people commenting. But go check your Miranda rights. Go look it up yourself and verify it. See that it specifically says that no matter what you say, it's used against you. And then look up things like the legal definitions. I've told people many times, and if you're new, you've probably never heard of it unless you watch my other videos. Go buy yourself a book, The Constitution. You could buy the little pamphlet ones on eBay for like $5. Go get the Black's Law Dictionary. You want at least the 5th edition or below. I got mine. I bought it on eBay. I think I paid $10 for it. And I have it right in my hand right now. Black's Law Dictionary. I got the 4th pocket edition. And it gives you the legal definitions. And a lot of them will shock you. So they're not really trying to be there for you. And that is why when things like the Clinton email scandal and what's going on with the FBI, how they had to be subpoenaed and they're not giving all the information and just basically saying, screw it, we can do whatever we want, it's because they go unchallenged. And the way that this country or anywhere in the world is going to get fixed is if the people care enough to actually say, no more, we no longer consent. And I've said so many times in other videos, consent does not always mean you say that you agree, although that is part of it. If you choose to say nothing, it is the same as consenting. For example, if you and I went to dinner and we agreed to pay for our own dinners, and at the end we ask for a pie to share amongst ourselves. So there's 2 of us. They, for some reason, cut it into 5 slices. You have 2, I have 2, there's 1 left. And I say out loud that I'm going to take that last piece of cake. Now, I'm creating what's called a trust. It's a verbal contract. Everything that you do where there's a deal involved, it actually creates a trust. Now, you can do one of several things. You could say, yes, go ahead, you could take it. You could say, no, you can't take it. You could make some form of compromise and say, let's split it, for example, or let me have a bite, for example, or you could say nothing. That is the same. If you say nothing, if I say, I'm going to take that last piece of cake, and you clearly heard me, and you chose to say nothing, that is the same in law as saying go ahead and take it. Why? Because you're not contesting it. And that is what most people don't realize about their true power in government. Now, if the person just held up a sign and said how unfair that was, they're not responding to the trust. They're just making a statement. So that's why they love when you protest. They love it even more when the people riot, because when you riot, you cause damage. Then that means workers have to come in and make money so it can create jobs. Destruction does create jobs. It also increases taxes. It increases insurance for people. You ever have a car parked in front of your house and somebody hits into it and runs and your premiums go up when you did nothing wrong? They love to have an opportunity to be able to do those things for you. They also love the fact that they can arrest you, because when they put you in prison, because if you read about the 13th Amendment, it doesn't protect you in prison. So why do you think they create more and more laws that make it easier and easier to go behind bars and then continually go back into the system once you've been in there? It's a profit. It's another business. It's a way to get people to lose their freedoms. The reason it exists is because we may hold up picket signs, we may sleep out overnight at some place saying we're making a difference, but we're not saying we no longer consent. And it has to be the majority of the people, because like I've said before, the Constitution it's in existence because it's the consent of the governed. We are the governed, and we consent by agreeing with it with our silence. Again, we argue about it, we complain about it, but we allow it to continue. So you'll have some good people in politics. There are people that go into politics that really want to make a change. But then you realize there's so many spokes in the wheel and there's so many different authority people you have to talk to, and nobody takes responsibility for each part because there's another, pay level higher that does the work, and when you speak to them, there's another pay level higher that you have to speak to, that you can't get anything done. And this system is just a maze of just going nowhere, but round in circles. And until we learn how the system works, we'll never be able to change it. And the problem is we keep relying on other people, like, for example, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or anyone else, to come in and be able to fix these things. They're not going to be able to do that. As much as we would like it, it's just not going to happen. Until we, the people, decide it's time to change this system and take our country back without bloodshed, nothing's going to change. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to what I had to say. I hope you will do. My homework assignment for those who care is to go look up the Miranda rights, see it for yourself, so you have confirmation that what I said was accurate and that you're not just believing me because you just may like me. I want you to get used to verifying things yourself, and that's what I want you to do from now on. Anytime I do a video, I want you to verify if I say something. So this way you could say, well, I believe what he says, or you say, I don't believe what he says. If you research it, you could say, I know what he said was right. Or if I made a mistake, you can correct me with it. And that's how we grow. That's how we learn. So thank you for taking the time to listen to what I had to say. Please share this if you appreciate these kind of videos. If you want to hit the like button, that's even better. You guys know I always appreciate that. And I do have to say the video that I made yesterday, where I was exposing the Hillary Clinton video that a person was making about Hillary being handcuffed. That one has almost 70,000 views. Mine has about 700, and 11 people disliked it. And that's fine, but it just shows that the average person out there, unfortunately, doesn't really want truth. They want things that resonate with them, that feels good, even if it's regardless of what the truth is. And that's not the way I want my channel's direction to go. So the right thing was to put that video out. Now, I'm not saying the person that made that video, that woman, did it on purpose. I don't know her intention. But the wrong video is going viral. Mine is staying silent, which you'd think, it in a way kind of helps Hillary look better. And I don't like Hillary at all. She should be locked up. I wish that video was true. But I want people here to know that I'm trying my best to do as much truth as possible. It's not always easy when you're looking at things from the outside and you're not part of it. So mistakes can be made. But I would rather have less views on a video that shows the truth than have a video go viral that is flat out wrong. And that to me says a lot about the people's integrity as well. So to the 11 people that thumbed it down, I mean, they'll never admit who they are because they're cowards. But sadly, people want drama. And that's all I'm going to say. So thank you very much. I always appreciate what you guys and gals do. The fact that you come to my channel to listen to what I have to say is, to this day, still humbling. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Take care, everybody.